Good morning. You know, typically in the Canadian context, I might not have been so enthusiastic when Tim and Susan, our organizers here, invited me to both thank a Conservative provincial energy minister while warmly welcoming a federal Liberal environment minister. But as Minister Lecce has remarked, these are not typical times. This is a time when provinces, federal government, Canadians have to work together to turn these turbulent times into an opportunity for Canada. And so I'm delighted to be up here. And welcome to all of you to what I think is one of the most important conversations Canada has had in a generation, and one whose time has absolutely come. First, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and to thank the Honourable Stephen Lecce, Ontario's Minister of Energy and Mines. Minister, thank you for being here. I've had the privilege over many years in the energy sector of watching provinces and ministers wrestle with the challenge of building a durable, affordable, clean electricity system. I guess I should have said this at the outset, but my name is John Gorman. I am the President of Westinghouse Canada and formerly the CEO of the Canadian Nuclear Association. So I've been watching this work. It's hard work that the ministers are doing. It's often thankless work, and the results take years to materialize. That's why what Ontario has been doing with nuclear under Minister Lecce's watch deserves to be named clearly and without reservation. It's genuinely ambitious, and it's genuinely consequential. Ontario today operates one of the cleanest electricity grids on Earth, close to 90% emissions-free. That did not happen by accident. It happened because of sustained, serious decisions about hydropower, renewables, and nuclear energy. And what gives me real confidence about Canada's energy future is watching Ontario double down on that foundation rather than coast on it. For companies like Westinghouse and our Canadian owners, Cameco and Brookfield, that confidence, that clarity matters. Together we're working to help meet this moment with proven Canadian technologies and fuel supply chains that can reliably serve Ontario's domestic needs, while also supporting growing international demand for clean energy growth. So, Minister Lecce, on behalf of everyone assembled here today, thank you. Thank you for your ambition, and thank you for your actions in helping to build a clean energy superpower. Mr. Lecce. Which brings me to the work ahead and to a person who will help shape the federal half of that picture. At a moment when Canada is asking the world to trust us as an energy partner, we need an environmental framework that provides genuine predictability for investors, for project proponents, for Indigenous partners, and for the communities who will live alongside this infrastructure for decades. That is a significant responsibility. Our next speaker has spent years working at precisely that intersection: environment, energy, and the economy, and getting things done for people. A former litigator and community advocate, she's been elected in the riding of Toronto-Danforth 3 times. That's right, isn't it, Minister? As Parliamentary Secretary for both Environment and Natural Resources, she understands the terrain. And now, as Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Nature in the Carney government, she is one of the people who will define it. In November of last year, she announced Canada's Climate Competitiveness Strategy, which, as the Minister has said, positions climate action and economic growth as inseparable, aiming to build a stronger, more sustainable, and more competitive Canada for decades to come. This, too, is an ambitious goal, and we look forward to helping make it a reality. Please join me in welcoming the Honourable Julie Dabrusin.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Canada 2020 for inviting me to speak at this really important and timely conference about building a strong energy future for Canada. I'd like to begin by recognizing that we are on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. And I always like to take a moment to just pause when I say that, because it's not just a check mark in my speech. This is our past and also the future that we have with Indigenous peoples on this land as we move forward. Look, I think that actually Minister Lecce, I'll pick up a bit where he ended, because I think that that's exactly, he was right when he's talking about how we need to work well together and are working well together. The federal government, provinces and territories alongside each other. And we know that there's a moment right now where we need to build our country, we need to build our energy security as a country, and this moment that we're in calls for all of us to work together across partisan lines, across all orders of government. And if I can take a moment, I really would like to thank the leadership of Ontario in bringing together provinces and territories to build this national energy corridor. It's really an important step forward in how do we build a strong electricity grid across our country. We need the cooperation of all parties, and the federal government is actively a part of that project as well. So great that we can work all together on that. Look, when we look to building our country as a secure and strong Canada, we really look to people in this room, energy leaders, financial institutions, and Indigenous partners working together to build the infrastructure and industries that will power our economy and our communities for decades to come. It's a crucial mix. And this is all alongside our workers who are going to make it happen. I always have to pitch that piece. Canada has some of the best workers around the world to be ready to build this strong economy of the future. And this is about also creating good paying jobs right here at home. Our shared climate and energy goals are clear. It's about transforming our energy systems, it's about leveraging Canada's clean power advantages, and it's about achieving a net zero grid. It's also about building a low carbon economy while making Canada an energy superpower. And we all know, as we're talking here today, that this conference is taking place at a pivotal time. As the Prime Minister has said, the global order is changing, and Canada is determined to act confidently in these circumstances. The world economy continues to undergo a historic transformation towards low-carbon energy and clean technology, and that's changing how growth happens and where capital flows. In 2025, global investments in clean energy rose to $2.2 trillion US. That was double the investment in fossil fuels. The global clean technology market is expected to triple by 2035, and energy systems right around the world are being rebuilt. Countries everywhere are racing to build the industries that will power the next century. And the question faced by governments worldwide is, are we going to watch and sit by the sidelines, or are we going to be a leader? And Canada has very much decided we are going to be a leader. This is our moment. And all of us Canadians, we're the builders of it, because we are actively taking steps in leading this rapid transformation in a rapidly transforming global economy. There are huge opportunities and high-quality jobs in a thriving economy supported by Canadian clean tech, energy, and innovation. For Canadians, building a greener future isn't just about environment policy. And we talked about this. This is about how we're doing nation building. I liked when you started, when John Gorman started, and he's talked about how there's this real intersection about energy, environment. How are we going to work together on this project? Because it's essential. And I just want to take a moment, because I'm going to be very much economically focused in how I talk about this. But I am the mother of 2 young women in their 20s, and I take it as a serious responsibility. When we talk about how we're building Canada strong, how are we building it well? Because it's about building for our future generations and the legacy we leave. So it's about the economy, it's about the environment, and it's about building a strong future for our country. We know Canada has the resources that the world needs. We have clean electricity, we have critical minerals, we have a highly skilled workforce and energy expertise built over generations, and we have trusted institutions and stable governance that investors rely on. That combination does make Canada one of the most attractive places in the world to build the energy systems of the future. You heard mention of the climate competitiveness strategy that was released in Budget 2025, and that really helps to leverage Canada's strengths because it creates the conditions to build an economy and encourage cleaner innovation. That is through creating the certainty and predictability that we need for investors. It's about a strengthened industrial carbon price. It's about investing in deep decarbonization. And it's about supporting clean growth through $90 billion in clean economy tax credits. It's also about reducing methane emissions. I always like to mention that part because Canada's a real global leader in this space. And we're a global leader in the clean tech, and we're a global leader in the policies moving forward. We are leading the way. Canada's strategic regulatory framework and investments have led to significant reductions in methane emissions from oil and gas sector while supporting Canada's climate competitiveness in global energy markets. And they also create new economic opportunities for Canadians, with an estimated 34,000 jobs created in Canada in the abatement field between 2027 and 2040. Grâce à une réglementation intelligente combinée à des investissements historiques dans les infrastructures vertes, nous construisons et investissons dans un pays pour la prochaine génération. Le Canada rehausse rapidement son réseau électrique, tout comme les générations précédentes ont construit des chemins de fer et des autoroutes qui ont relié et uni notre pays. Cela permet de créer de bons emplois et des compétences et une prospérité à long terme, y compris dans les communautés autochtones. Il s'agit là d'un débouché économique énorme, car la demande en électricité au Canada devrait au moins doubler d'ici 2050. Dans notre prochaine stratégie pour l'électricité, nous nous sommes engagés à doubler la capacité de notre réseau afin de répondre à cette demande. Nous concevons nos crédits d'impôt à l'investissement pour soutenir les technologies de réduction et nous incitons les entreprises à viser l'excellence et à fabriquer les produits les plus durables qui soient. Now, you've heard a lot of talk about nuclear energy. And Canada's Growth Fund and the Building Ontario Fund have announced up to $3 billion in equity commitment to finance the Darlington nuclear energy project. I'm going to take a moment because I always like to use this story. I used to work downtown Toronto. I had an office that overlooked Lake Ontario, and about 55 days of every year, I'm dating myself, guys, but trust me on this, there used to be this orange smudge that hung over Lake Ontario when you looked out. We had on average in Ontario 55 smog days a year. When we moved from coal to clean electricity, and that was through nuclear in Ontario, those smog days reduced to zero. It's something that we don't think about day to day because we don't remember those days of looking out our windows and seeing that orange smudge. But it does show you that when we're talking about clean electricity, we're talking about clean air in our communities. It's something that's visible and tangible. We're benefiting from it now, and we have so much that we can benefit for as we build it for the future. In a world of global unpredictability, investors are looking for something simple and powerful, and that's certainty. And that is why we are delivering the climate competitiveness strategy. It's about certainty about the direction of policy, it's about certainty about rules of the game, and it's certainty that the transition to a low-carbon economy will be durable and built to last and to support energy security. That is what our federal government is providing. We're carbon future. Clean electricity is a really strong example for that. We've put in place clean electricity regulations that establish a clear signal and is building a reliable, affordable, and clean grid. And alongside that, we have billions of dollars in clean electricity investment tax credits that we are using to attract more investments in clean technology. And as I've mentioned, a clean electricity strategy is following shortly too. Our federal government is working with provincial and territorial governments in a spirit of collaboration, and I think you've heard that today. And we're working on problem solving to seize the opportunities for our environment and our economy by ensuring regional flexibility and the right mix of policies, such as strengthened industrial carbon pricing, smart regulations, and fiscal incentives. We also talked about cooperation agreements. I think you heard about how do we work together, and you heard this from Minister Ledger. How are we going to work together with provinces and territories to build the projects that we need for this clean electrical grid and for energy projects moving forward? We are working right now to streamline the impact assessment project process with provinces to achieve one project, one review. And we have now, I believe, I was just trying to think in my mind, I think we're now at the point where we have agreements with the majority of the provinces. We're moving forward in a really strong way together because we know that this is a path that we need to take. This is about creating clean growth economies that opens doors for Canadian businesses to innovate and developing Canada's resources in efficient and sustainable ways. If I mention just a few of the major projects that have been referred to the Major Projects Office, talking about getting Iqaluit off of diesel and moving them to hydropower. We're talking about the Darlington project that I mentioned. We're talking about offshore wind in the Atlantic provinces. We're talking about the Northwest Corridor in British Columbia with a clean electrical grid that's going to support critical minerals mining and at the same time protect lands. There are a lot of opportunities right across our country, and we're making sure that we seize them. And so if I can leave you with this, and it's a bit of what my vision is and what we're working towards. We're working on making sure that as we meet the need for increased electricity, we're doing it in a way that we build it right, we build it strong. It's not just regulatory, it's putting in place the infrastructure to make it last and to make it work. It's about looking at how do we build a future where Canadian families are heating and cooling their homes using clean electricity. It's about building the vehicles, the electrical vehicles right here at home, and then powering those vehicles right across our country using clean electricity, and also making sure we have a charging grid where people don't feel range anxiety. This is about making sure that we power our economy with the strengths of clean energy. And when I talk about this so far, I've been really focused on the domestic, but let me also leave you with this. This is an opportunity internationally, and we hear it time and again. The world is looking for Canada's clean technologies. It's one of the top requests in our trade conversations. We're making partnerships globally in this moment, and that includes the recent agreements with China and India to help Canada with scale and the clean energy build-out that we need to do at home. But it's also, for example, using the example of India and collaboration, that was collaboration on clean energy initiatives in solar, wind, liquid natural gas, nuclear, biofuels, and hydropower. These are all opportunities for the future. And so just to be like what we just see that Prime Minister Carney has returned from many important meetings around the world where we're actively working to diversify our trade relationships. At the center of that is also how do we create markets for these clean technologies, because we have the know-how right here at home. We have what it takes to build a strong Canada for the future, and this is our moment to shine. And so climate action is a very central part of the work that we're doing at every moment, and that is going to be the key to how we unlock a strong future for our country as we build Canada strong, but that we build it well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. That was excellent. Two great speeches to kick off the day. I have the distinct honor to introduce our next guest. Laszlo Vera is the Vice President, Strategy, Insights and Scenarios at Shell International. I became aware of this organization in my early work with Shell Canada. I was always impressed that there's essentially a think tank at the core of the international entity in The Hague. So welcome, Laszlo, to Ottawa.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to my official job title, I like to say that I'm the guardian of a proud tradition, because Shell was the first.
Okay, well, that was fun. Hope you'll leave your comments Thank you for joining us this morning. Like, follow, and subscribe. We'll be back.